Coming up in today's Leeds news, Gnonto reacts to substitute role. This weekend's Lone Watch, Creswell payday from a Leeds rival, heavy VAR criticism over Leeds incident, and rumour mill stories on Illan Meslier and Ayase Ueda. Morning folks, welcome back to the Leeds View for Monday morning, the 15th of December with your Leeds United news. Another point on the road for Leeds United. Well, a point on the road for Leeds United, another point in a game, and Leeds now 3 games unbeaten after the weekend, which makes the weekend a little bit more palatable, as we always say, coming after back of a decent result. There's question marks whether Leeds could have gone for it in that game and tried to get more out of it. There's a review from straight after the game last night, and we will talk to Jerry McNamee and Paul Brooker tomorrow night on the channel as well. You can check all of that stuff out if you want to. We did want to point out and congratulate Ethan Ampadu on 100 appearances for Leeds United, which is not a small achievement by any stretch of the imagination, so well done. Leeds United captain Ethan Ampadu. A bit of stuff to get stuck into today. We're going to start off with Willie Gnonto, who's reacted to yesterday's substitute appearance and the role that he's playing off the bench for Leeds this season. Willie Gnonto has played the role of catalyst in Leeds' last 2 games, making a real impact off of the bench. And yesterday, his perfectly weighted cross for Dominic Calvert-Lewin allowed the Leeds United number 9 to get his 4th goal in a row and his 5th goal of the season. And arguably these substitutes could have come on a little bit earlier. They were about to come onto the field of play before Brentford scored their goal, but Leeds had gotten a grip of the match, and you can argue the Leeds United maybe could have gone for it a little bit earlier than the usual 78th minute substitute. But Gnonto did make an impact off of the bench, but he was quite modest after full time, giving a lot of the credit for the goal to Dominic Calvert-Lewin, showing a little bit of maturity and growth from the young man. But speaking after the game, he said the following on the substitute role that he's described as not being an easy one. He said this: I think it's easier when you play with a striker like Dom. You just know that you've got to put the ball into an area and he's going to attack it. I thought it was quite a good ball, but he did a lot of the job. On his substitute role, Gnonto said this: it's not easy. Obviously, the team is playing well. I think we've got lots of good players, and I can say that the competition is quite high, but at the same time, I have to try and use all of my chances. I think I did it today, and I think I did it against Liverpool, and I just have to keep going like this. He's definitely made an impact off the bench for Leeds in the last 2 games, winning a penalty against Liverpool, but also been involved in one of the goals in that game as well, with a 1-2 with Brendan Aronson, as well as a beautiful cross yesterday, perfectly floated cross for Dominic Calvert-Lewin. So he's definitely doing that, but as always, when we get to this stage of a season and the transfer window is about to open, there's always lots of speculation around Willie Gnonto's future at Leeds United. There are several sides in Italy said to have interest in bringing him in. Juventus are labelled as one of the more serious clubs that have kept an eye on him and are showing interest in him. But Leeds' system, and we're moving away from the wingers, does make it more difficult for players like Gnonto to get in, but he can also play as a second striker. He did play in that role before Leeds signed him, and he did play in that role for Italy as well. So he could operate just off the big man. That could definitely be something that would work for him, allow him to move further inside. But Leeds, again, if they do decide to change their system mid-match and move to that more attacking system when they have got control of a couple of matches, he definitely comes into his own in that situation. But there's no doubt there'll be continued speculation around Gnonto's future. He's doing very well for Leeds right now. That's likely to get clubs interested in him, especially if he's not playing and starting lots of minutes for Leeds, but is getting impact and getting assists. So we'll keep an eye on it, but he's been very good for Leeds so far since he's come back from his injury. Long may that continue for Willie Gnonto. Let's move on and get into Long Watch. We'll start off with Mateo Joseph. Joseph started but was taken off in the 71st minute in Real Mallorca's 3-1 home win against Elche. No goal involvements this week. Joe Gelhardt is out injured for Hull, expected to be out until after Christmas. Isaac Schmidt came off the bench in the 64th minute for Werder Bremen in a very heavy 4-0 loss at home to Stuttgart. Max Fober still not involved with the squad, still out injured. Largi Ramazani was brought on in the 82nd minute for Valencia in their 2-1 away loss to Atletico Madrid as he continues his recovery from injury. Charlie Cruz started and played 58 minutes for Doncaster Rovers in their 4-3 away loss to Cardiff. Cruz did register an assist for Doncaster's 2nd goal in that game. Roy Mahadi, 90 minutes and a clean sheet for Mahadi in Scunthorpe's 5-0 home win over Peterborough Sports FC. Mahadi also picked up Scunthorpe's Player of the Month award that he had been nominated for. But yeah, good work for a few of them, Charlie. Great to see him getting some minutes finally. 2 games in a row now where he has played. They did say he'd get more minutes after the internationals were behind him. Hopefully that continues. But yeah, getting assist as well. And Rory Mahadi again, good clean sheet for him. So mixed bag for the loanies this week. Let's move on. Let's talk about it. Let's talk about a potential payday for Leeds, but it might come at cost from a relegation rival. Leeds could get a financial boost in January if reports today are to be believed, but it could come via a Premier League relegation rival. According to West Ham insiders, they say that the club are planning a second move for former Leeds United centre-back Charlie Creswell after failing to get him in the summer. The Hammers had a £13 million offer for Charlie Creswell rejected by Toulouse. That was their second bid after having an earlier loan with option to purchase rejected as well. And according to their insider report, they claim that they will go back in January to finish off the move that they wanted to get done during the summer. Current manager Nuno Espirito Santo is said to be a fan of Creswell. He likes his style and ability and has labelled him as a top target in January. Creswell is having another very strong season for Toulouse in France. Leeds are reported, though, to have a 15% sell-on clause in any deal related to Creswell after they sold him back in the summer of 2024 for £3.5 million at that point. And Toulouse are said to want over £15 million, which means Leeds could get in and around £2.25 million of a payout should Toulouse get that £15 million from West Ham United. That would bring Leeds' total income on Charlie Creswell to £5.75 million, which is still nowhere near what Toulouse will have made on the player. I always felt at the time that Leeds had sold him too early. He had a 5-year contract. Didn't make sense why Leeds wouldn't loan him out to France for 2 years and let him get that game time and then maybe cash in on him in the future or bring him back into the squad. He's having a good time out there. He's doing well. I think he's the England under-21 captain now as well. So it's going well for him out there, but there could be a possibility of him coming back to England and Leeds might get a few quid out of that one. But yeah, that one might just stick in the throat a bit longer. We'll have to wait and see how it goes. Let's move on. During Leeds' game against Brentford at the weekend, the VAR spent what appeared to be an age checking on a penalty against Leeds United for the minimalist of touches from Gary Gudmundsson on Oueda. Referee ultimately didn't give the penalty after VAR intervened and called for an offside, but the referee himself on the day was very quick to point to the spot. But 2 incidents in the second half went without a decision in Leeds' favour and without VAR getting involved at all. The second call isn't being spoken about a huge amount, but Pascal Struijk appeared to be having his jersey pulled off of his back at the back post in a cross from Leeds United, and that one's not being spoken about. But an earlier incident has caught the attention of the media, an ex-referee and Daniel Farke as well. After the match, Keith Hackett and Daniel Farke both criticised the decision from VAR not to intervene and to give a penalty to Leeds United for an apparent pull on Dominic Calvert-Lewin. Hackett believes that Leeds should have been given a penalty when Dominic Calvert-Lewin was clearly pulled back by Nathan Collins, and referee John Brooks on the day, who had been quick to point to the spot for the foul from Gudmundsson, waved away Leeds' protests, and VAR never got involved. Speaking on the incident, the ex-FIFA referee and ex-PGMOL official said the following on it. I find it difficult to understand why referees on the field of play and in the VAR room at Stockley Park accept grappling as an action whilst taking no action. And whilst they take no action, we will see a continuing increase in these incidents when they are not sanctioned. Was that holding offence such that the Leeds United player fell backwards, or did he decide that that action by him would help him to sell it and get a penalty kick to earn his side a shot at goal? His movement for me was an offence of holding, and that should have been penalised with a penalty kick. It's not just holding. There is a clear action from Nathan Collins after the holding incident to pull back Dominic Calvert-Lewin, what forces him to the ground. Now, Leeds might not have scored directly from that, but the ball was being taken down pretty easily by Dominic Calvert-Lewin. That pullback pulls him away from the football, and it was, at the time, even live, looked to me clear as day to be an absolute spot kick, and Daniel Farke called it out after the game, and referee Keith Hackett agreed with Daniel Farke's comments that it should have been a penalty kick for Leeds, and at the very minimum VAR should have intervened and had a look at that incident, as they did in the one in the first half. But as somebody said on the watch along yesterday, they were checking for the club badge before they decided to check for the penalty. So unfortunately didn't go Leeds' way. Should have been a penalty. Might not have changed the game result in the end anyway, but nevertheless, it should have been. Let's get into the rumour mill territory. There's an outgoing and an ingoing story today. Start off with Illan Meslier, and according to Team Talk, they say that Leeds have spoken to several clubs about a potential sale of Illan Meslier during the summer, but they claim that the Leeds keeper is keeping his options firmly open. Leeds have told Meslier that he is free to leave the club in January. They said the same thing to him during the summer months as well, in an attempt to try and get him off of the wage bill. Team Talk say that they can now confirm that club sources have told them the Leeds have spoken to several clubs about a potential exit of Illan Meslier, but the keeper is said to be keeping his cards close to his chest in relation to whether a January move happens or whether he signs a pre-contract agreement and decides to move away from the club then on a free transfer in the summer. We'll have to wait and see. He's very much third, fourth choice at this point, depending on how you look at it. But yeah, he's the obvious one for Leeds, but he has all the cards to play right now and he is keeping them close to his chest. Let's move on and talk about Ayase Ueda. Last week we gave you the detail on the origin of the Ayase Ueda link to Leeds United, and it's grown some legs over the course of the weekend. Team Talk, so pinch of salt always with Team Talk. They say the Leeds will push for a move for Ueda once the transfer window opens. They say that sources say that Leeds are ready to back manager Daniel Farke and admit that they failed by not signing Facundo Buonanotte and Harry Wilson during the summer. As mentioned last week, Ueda's got 19 goals in 22 appearances for Feyenoord so far this season. At 27 years of age, is very much coming into his prime years. The report says that an exit might be a bit premature though for the Japanese striker, who scored 16 goals in 36 international appearances for the Japanese national side, and as a result, he may stay put at Feyenoord until at least the summer months. Striker-wise, Leeds have been linked with several different strikers over the past month or two. Promise David, Troy Parrott, Ueda, and Francolinho De Jeu have all been linked with Leeds in the past couple of weeks, and whoever Leeds do decide to make a move for, a lot of the noise and conversation around the club suggests that loan options might be Leeds United's best course of action unless they can make sales early in the window or they brought in some more money from investors as well. Leeds can make sales and can get new commercial deals anytime between now and the July 1st PSR deadline. So if they want to make moves now, they can, and they can try and balance the books before July 1st. So there is a bit of time. It's not done and dusted, as the financial expert said. Leeds can't say they've maxed out on PSR because they've no idea what they'll bring in between now and the end of the season, and the PSR isn't calculated until the end of the season. So there is still wiggle room in there if they can maybe offload a couple of players. If the loanees all of a sudden start performing and Leeds decide to sell them before July 1st, they can recoup money that way as well. So there are options for Leeds, but we'll see how they go. Folks, that will be it for me today. Massive thank you as always for supporting the channel. If you want to like, comment and share, you can do that as well. If you're listening on audio platforms, give us a channel rating. We'd really appreciate that. Back tomorrow morning for the news and the podcast tomorrow night to review the weekend's action and also look ahead to Leeds' game against Crystal Palace at the weekend. Enjoy the rest of your day. I'll talk to you soon. See you then. Bye.